please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? We haven't done one of these since December of 2021, so I'm not entirely sure we know how to make a good one anymore. Consider this a last chance saloon for the series. Hello everyone, welcome to Content Constable. Today we shall be taking a look at an individual that I'd often considered a parallel version of Christian, had Christian transitioned from male to an exclusively and mildly sentient Fupa, a person that has had everything given to them on a plate, and decided to simply cliche it up by being as wealthy poor person coupled with selfish as possible, leaving a trail of feces, loss and neglect in her wake. This person though was not alone. Where one parasite thrives, another has to pay the price. A banker, an unwitting sap that has typical neglect issues and suffers from a severe case of contrarianism, along with the highly contagious, taking literally everything for granted atosis. Being the good parasite that today's subject is, where once there was the good, the bountiful, the luxurious, there has to be an inevitable downfall, one brought on by going beyond what was available to instead beg and grift it up to levels of failure that would make a cold caller shrivel up, raising a family in what would become squalor, to then showcase with your online presence a level of abuse, violence, intolerance and vindictiveness that only a bad parent can show, added to key personality traits, best demonstrates how one's greed in everything that they surround themselves with is based on a pathetic mentality of get rich quick by being an online star, rising to notoriety by accident, to then milk it and manage to get removed from multiple platforms for repeatedly violating the rules, alienating family, milking a close friend for everything they have, with emotional outpours and sentiment that is not remotely meant by the person delivering it, all adequately showcase how low today's subject is willing to go to make it. The person we are going to cover today has been covered before, mostly mainly by Irate Alex, but today I think it right that we add our voice to a person's saga that somehow persists, when logic surely dictates they would have evolved into their final form of a slug subjected to a salt bath. Today's subject is Shanny, aka ShannyForChrist. And while Christ may be in her name, I can promise you, everything about her is one big slap in her respective messiah's face. So what we're going to do is break the video down into topics or segments, arguments. First, we need to know a bit about her family, her lifestyle, controversies and current whereabouts. So buckle up folks, this one is going to be quite messy. So who is ShannyForChrist? This one could be tricky, as Shanny's life is a smidge too voluminous to truly cover fully, so I shall instead give you a Cliff's Notes version of the already existing Cliff's Notes. Shanny can be regarded as a number of things. Human is definitely not one of them, as Rule 34 applies to everything, it applies here too. Yeah, not human. And no, I am not going to, show you that gelatinous mess you would have undoubtedly seen if you obey Rule 34. Yes, you are all welcome. So what is Shanny? She can be regarded as a locust that moves from place to place looking for a harvest. Definitely. A leech that consumes another's existence until it has been bled dry. Absolutely. A parasite? Well, she certainly has qualities that qualify her as one of those too. Something Shanny though is not is a good person, a decent person, an upstanding, hardworking and dedicated person. Shanny after all craves many things. For one, to give off the impression that she possesses empathy, decency, a sense of humanity. Oh, and to hide her desperation if you didn't know. She doesn't want you to see that. Yet, she does because it generates views and attention. This desperation has consumed her and her husband's life to the tune of well over $700,000. And cost them their family. Not that she ever cared for the well-being of her family. This has been evidenced and well documented via neglect, abuse, truly bad parenting for special needs, autism more notably, and if you lack the basic skill set, desire or passion to better yourself and give your children the best chances are you do not care. Shanny though does have something going for her. Apparently, she has a high IQ, much like a hillbilly kicking in his sister's teeth to get a blowjob. Shanny though is married and has a married entity this entity has to also focus and be a focal point in her content. However, this individual is a truly unremarkable individual that, if anything, enables her reprehensible behavior, whilst also trying to give off the impression that he is above it. He is about as above it as Amberlynn Reid is on a weight loss journey. With a lack of intelligence, with the artist known as Rev or BCP for the rest of this video, BCP is a fantastic example of one large bully taking advantage of another that is mentally handicapped. Case in point, doesn't BCB have some kind of brain damage, along with abandonment issues, a compensating mentality for a reduction in what God gave him, no doubt a punishment for some indiscretion towards the Almighty? Rule 34 no doubt confirms it. And for the sake of this, BCP will get a segment to fully flesh out what God did not flesh him out with. Shanny rose to a small modicum of notoriety because of Shane Dawson dropping her name and her in a video concerning Jeffree Star, which in turn gave her some, well, believed clout. Accidentally, let's face it. However, Shanny had been online for a lot longer. Originally, she was involved in YouTube atheism or debating community crap, eking out an existence trying to garner some attention. That Shane Dawson thing gave her the attention she wanted. Her behavior would indicate otherwise, but actually no, she thrived under it. She just didn't make anything from it. When reliant on being relevant through negativity, you need to be able to use the aforementioned negativity to attempt to then spin it into something profitable. Now I bet some people's lobes tingle at the thought of making profit. Well, it turns out even the Ferengi want nothing to do with Shanny, and they definitely don't want her treated like Ferengi women. Gelatinous. No thank you. And by the way, Shanny does have kids, as I've earlier mentioned. Well done. Oh, he said the obvious. Thing is, we can't confirm with her anymore. She's so big. Yes, she is actually quite a large person. It's all possible she crapped when I was on the toilet and didn't realise, thinking that instead she was merely passing something that would choke a donkey. Now, inevitably, she would get some traction in her attempt to become a superstar. That traction was created by a community that rallied against her, hoping that she could in turn lead to another cow worthy of milking. It failed like Punk trying to kill the metal, and this in turn would lead to a sense of self-importance that Shanny did not deserve. This in turn led to a number of poor decisions, many, that would eventually erode her husband's inheritance down to nothing, because he's a contrarian sucker that would give her anything. This was because Shanny and BCP would blow it all on the best content materials like green screens and cameras. The kids got the best toys and they would buy anything that their impulse could get their hands on. This in turn led to a lifestyle of taking for granted not looking after anything living that includes themselves and pets, children included. And this was the foundation they built their franchise on. A franchise built on stilts, on sand. If I said that Shanny was bad, I could best demonstrate it with two things: her children and her pets. Other things I'm sure are bad, but these are the worst two for me. She is manipulative, corrosive, talentless, vile, abhorrent. All of the above. Shanny is, as you now know, many different things. One thing I've yet to mention though is a ban evader, and there is a story to that, and it's a story that will take some time to properly articulate. Her history covers enough that you'll understand why for such a long time many pushed for her to be banned. The way she treats their children, her husbands, her pets, her home are quite sad, and do a brilliant job of adequately showcasing the credentials and or evidence for her removal from YouTube, Twitter, Twitch and any other platform she's been yeeted from multiple times. She is such a pro e-beggar, by the way, because she's also this, that she'd stream solely to raise funds for cigarettes or get BCP to do the begging for her because she's above it and he's pussy whipped. FYI, chocolate's better, and this kind of mentality and behavior is very close to that of someone like Chris Chan. I mentioned his name twice in this video now. Strange that, isn't it? As a parent, Shanny has reminded everyone on a daily basis through long-form streams that they are secondary to her star profile. They are inconsequential for her passion to succeed. They are surplus trophies solely used to show how she is better than her detractors only because she had them. So now you know a bit about Shanny, and hopefully some relevant clips have played while I've spoken. I want to show you two clips. These are clips I made for Irate Alex for documentary videos he did on Shanny, along with a number of songs he did, but I'm not playing any of that, just my bits, so you can understand the issue concerning the pets and something else. Alex gave me a whole plethora of sources. I'm going to ignore all of those sources, thereby restricting what I do currently know even more. Smoking cat? Really? Alright. I've always held the view that if you can't afford to look after yourself, don't get a pet. If you can't afford to look after yourself and a pet, or just yourself for that matter, don't have children. In this instance with Shanny and baby Carrot Peen, we have two people that just don't know how to function. It has been proven, demonstrably proven, that they neglect not only their children but their pets. I take a personal interest with the pet part because someone else has the child abuse part, so I can just focus my energies on trying to tell you just how utterly feckless you were. Not only were they neglected, abandoned, they were left in states of hygiene levels below that of a sewer rat. You are about as good a pet owner as a man who has been executed is at surviving. I couldn't tell in the videos that I was sent of the house tour, MTV crib style. Here's where the magic happens, it's called a toilet. Hard to tell though, looks almost identical to the litter tray. And I wouldn't be surprised if the cat was using the toilet and Rev, baby Carrot Peen, was using the bloody litter tray. I heard a rumour that you had gerbils, by the way. Notoriously easy to look after. How'd yours work out? This, by the way, coupled with everything else, but to be honest, this is an early enough warning that you are unfit to do something as simple as look after a child, and there is plenty of evidence to support you not being able to. It is a disgrace that you would neglect these pets in such a way. Then again, I'm hardly surprised. You have a tendency to buy things but not care for it. So chances are you weren't thinking of, let's budget the 700,000 so we know what we have per month for X number of years, decades even. No. What we're going to do is, we're going to keep buying redundant things that mean nothing and go nowhere, do nothing for the family, even though you are responsible adults. Instead, we're just going to buy what we want, and when we need other stuff, what we'll do, because this always works, is we're going to then go and ask everyone on the internet to buy us cat litter, or not, because sometimes we need cigarettes for our cat, yo. They need their nicotine.
Back to what I was talking about with Google changing things. So the drama communities, they're gone. We can finally put out content, guys, and not be disrupted. So it says here, many of our services allow you to interact with others. We want to maintain a respectful environment for everyone, which means we must follow these basic rules of conduct. Comply with applicable laws, including export control, sanctions, and human trafficking laws. That's a good one. Respect the rights of others, including privacy and intellectual property rights, which means you can't be playing our videos no more. It says don't abuse, harm, interfere with, or disrupt services. Permission to use your content.
Nice. Oh my god.
Did you hear that? Permission to use your content, guys.
As you can tell from the high intellect I'm dealing with here, Shanny has a cheap gotcha. Right. Google's terms of service are quite something, but they are not entirely the terms of service that we YouTubers obey. We sign up to YouTube's terms of service. There is a vast difference, most notably the fair use policy. Now, there are community guidelines that are entirely relevant when discussing what other people do on this platform, and because of fair use, we are allowed to go into that person's channel, use their content to make points, either against them or to illustrate a different point entirely. If Google implemented those rules on YouTube, YouTube wouldn't be YouTube anymore, would it? I think I've made my point, but I might just rail on you a little more. To believe that Google's terms of service supersede that of YouTube's on YouTube, even though Google owns YouTube, which is probably where you think your leg to stand on comes from, is so stupid. I honestly believed it was up there with any of your many subscribers to your OnlyFans account. Do I need to say many again? Do I need air quotes, or do I need a sarcasm sign? As one final point actually about the entire misunderstanding of Google's rule, let's say we implement that on YouTube and then YouTube stops being YouTube, you'd be struck off the platform very quickly. Your own content would be the evidence against you because of the attacks you have made towards others. So it might be a good idea to look in a mirror and decide for yourself if you have so much as a leg to stand on when it comes to using Google's terms of service to stop people reacting to you because Google's own rules would ruin you. As we're operating within a field of hindsight, it is worth adding, while Shanny doesn't understand Google's terms of service, she also does not understand YouTube's terms of service. There are, after all, only a certain number of times you can get away with using very specific forms of language before you are yeeted. Now, if you have a dedicated audience that are, let's say, not so positive or receptive towards how you behave, how you act, what you do, your grift, your language, what you say towards others, how you fight, there is a high chance that very negative community you have created are going to go out of their way to get you yeeted. And in the case of Shanny, she was. BCP was not. BCP had his own channel. Therefore, BCP was able to get around Shanny's ban because that ban did not directly impact him, although he has used very similar language to that of Shanny as well. Shanny was removed for a whole plethora of reasons, and Shanny had attempted on multiple occasions to come back with new channels after new channels after new channels, which is where the rule breaking comes in because you're not allowed to evade a ban. You're really not, and if you have that dedicated negative audience, they are going to get you yeeted. They succeeded for a while, before Shanny was able to make a triumphant return. The Losers Club was the more recent iteration that I was aware of, and would you like to take a wild guess what they did on that channel that was oh so different from everything else they've done before? Sod all. It was the same content, over and over again. The only difference now, there were no pets and there were no children. And when you're a terrible person and a terrible parent, there is one very good reason why your children no longer feature in your content that they shouldn't feature in the first place. Because child services got involved. Turns out, I know, imagine our collective shocks. The only thing Shanny can vaguely look after is the device she uses to stream with. Everything else, including herself, apparently is not just secondary, it is tertiary, redundant, useless, and serves no definable purpose beyond that of being occasionally bollocked.
What am I doing, William? Please let me know. I'm not doing anything. Go away. Go be hormonal somewhere else.
On camera.
I'm not doing anything, William. Just leave me alone.
How about you leave me alone?
I am leaving you alone, obviously.
You're the one who's talking about me.
Okay, I'm gonna leave. Someone is going to get in trouble now.
Except for Rev, of course, because on the Losers Club he was also begging for money. If you can't understand one set of rules, what makes anyone think you'll understand a second set of rules? This, by the way, has to be inserted now in the middle of my segment talking about their inability to understand the rules. For Google, that is. Trigger happy they are, but as it turns out, the very community they created were more than happy to throw them under the bus once the line had been crossed too many times. Okay, so the next part I want to address, we're going to cover a number of things from a 5-hour stream, which I have to say from the face of it, that is some commitment to the cause. I can barely stream 2 hours before I get sleepy, but 5, I mean, I kind of get it actually. You were in your bed, and for a lot of it I was slightly concerned that you weren't wearing any clothes. And while I'm all in favor of body positivity, I have limits. There are a number of clips I'm going to take from the stream, and something I also want to address that's also there, but I'm not going to play. The first thing we're going to address, though, is this clip.
We'll say to certain people, please just stop. This isn't good for the children. You know, it's not good for your children either, seeing you do this to others. Do you really want to teach your children to be vicious and malicious to people?
To me, this reeks of manipulation. It is top-tier, top-shelf, hillbilly manipulation. It's the kind I expect someone to purchase from Dollar Tree, or for the UK viewers, Poundland.
You know, I keep telling people, I don't have strength to do this shit anymore. So, what do you expect me to do? I'm facing getting tested for MS. I can't walk for more than an hour without fucking falling down. So, I don't know. Thank you, Elizabeth Ford. I will get through it. It's just, you know when it's like one thing after another thing after another thing and you've just had it? That's where I am. And it was so awful because I was like crying, walking the whole time. Because like I said, I sprained both freaking ankles. So it's like sprained ankles. All this crap, and I just want it to end.
Because you're always the victim here? I just want to say now, because this actually bugs me, earlier in the stream, in a clip I won't play because there's a word you use and a way you say it that I cannot show it. But near the start, you'd use mental issues as an excuse for behavior. To play the victim, one does not use references to ending one's life as flippantly as you do. You are, because of the way you do it, arguably in the same region as an emo. And quite frankly, the way you portray your issues undermines the issues you have because you just fob them all off and use them to see who has the most problems, which is where you fit in because you're one of those people. It doesn't matter how many issues you have, only that a solution can be found to help you.
Nurtured?
Yes. And that's why you are the way you are. You're never nurtured by your mother.
No, and I'll never be nurtured by her.
No, you won't. But you will by mine. Yes. My mommy is going to give you a great big kiss and hug.
You know, and she did all this. She's the main culprit of why CPS was continually in our faces. You fucked up my kids, Mom, and you weren't even really in their life, and you fucked them up. That's how much of an awful human being you are. You fuck people up, and they're not even in your life. Like, let me ask you this, Mom. Why did you used to pull my arm out of the socket and then put it back in? What did I do to you as a child to deserve that treatment?
While I can totally respect that mothers, if they do what you say they did, let's say she did that to you, it does not excuse your actions and your behavior. It does mean you have grown up with a mountain of problems, all of which you should seek to fix instead of seeking to blame.
Satisfying, and she's like, I know it's nothing but love, and it really is. I love it. I love taking care of people and helping people. It's my life. It's all I've ever been. Advocates can often be found engaging in rescue efforts and doing charity work, trying to rescue Amberlynn Reed and Chantel from Charlie Gold and Life of a Free Spirit charity work. I'm known for charity. I've given all of you guys money.
Weird flex, but okay. So next on the agenda, I want to talk about Rev, aka BCP. A bit of backstory, a bit of understanding perhaps, context to best articulate how her brother-in-arms, her lackey, her sycophant, her bend over and take it if you really want to stay married to me. In fact, just shave your head as well. Yeah. Deals with his daily life, being better than everyone else, but of course being subservient to his queen. What you see on the screen is a shell, a defeated creature, one that exists yet does nothing to be anything more than present. This imp isn't even worthy of the title human, yet that same person is not innocent of any misdeeds. They are as much an important cog in the Shanny engine as Shanny is herself. He is known as Rev. So far, I have portrayed him as some kind of sad sack that is partially a victim of Shanny's gravity and strength. Yet, this is not the case at all. Much like Shanny, BCP, as I have also referred to him in this video, is a manipulative, vindictive, e-begging, grifting dosser that tries to play King Contrarian, but is actually just a lazy, weak tea hipster that has wasted every gift he ever received from his family. He had a chance at a better future, and hedged his bets by wasting it all on someone like Shanny. That's not to say that's all he did. Oh no, he has, while playing his part, taken to extracurricular activities. Do not Google him and Shanny doing anything, by the way, you will regret it. Not that there's much to see, it wasn't even a mouthful. And I can't be the only person that thinks this. He looks slightly more human than he did when he shaved everything off and looked like a dying cancer patient. Where Shanny failed as a mother, pet owner, wife, creator, and human, BCP failed at all of that as well. He has violent tendencies that fabricate worthless drama with his own kin. He mooches off of the online sphere rather than get a simple job, get his life together, and build something better for his family. Whereas Shanny has Mefibro, Rev has wet brain farts and microscopic godly gifts. He is seen in content going as far back as their beginnings, taking everything for granted and believing himself to be smarter than the average smackhead, and FYI, he is not. He is remarkably inadequate in the intellectual department. If God gave him anything, it was the body of a punch bag and the intellectual acumen of Biff Tannen trying to swerve away from manure. Shanny and BCP are more alike. and that when they are in unison makes them, quite frankly, tragic, not dangerous. Shanny barely moves and Rev barely functions. In the case of BCP, he is a known child beater, animal abuser, and when he inherited several $100,000, he allowed his slug of a wife to be a cliche by blowing it as if it were a race to the bottom, to then use BCP to beg on live streams solely to buy cigarettes, dope, pay rent, moving costs, medical costs, and food, because they have children. He never really cared about them. Much like Shanny, never supported them, like Shanny, never showed them any kindness, sympathy, understanding toward required nourishment in any really useful parenting department, like Shanny. A neglectful mistake of a person that will be easily forgotten, that is Rev, once the stain of his existence departs the online space, and that has been tried many times. While he would like to claim himself above so much of what goes on online, he is balls deep in it. Don't Google that either, less than a mouthful. He lives for it, feeds off it, and quite frankly, he needs it. Without it, his pretentious attitude, all through the lens of misguided and misunderstood, would place him in a department of useless. So he adapts by getting online and begging for all that important cigarette money. He is about as useful to the online discourse, to any space that has intellectual discussion, any community that has integrity, which there are very few of by the way, as a D6 does at rolling a 2+ armor save when all sides of the dice say 1. How's that for a description of that sad sack of pus? I think what we need to do now is take a closer look at some of his greatest hits. Whilst on YouTube, maybe even Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, or anywhere else that Nurgle repellent would frequent during his time online. Yes, even Daddy Nurgle wants nothing to do with him. Some of BCP's greatest hits may include some actual hits or claims of it, so consider that a trigger warning. To best demonstrate a big part of Shanny's life, we need to include those she chooses to surround herself with. Even if the relationship comes across as mature as a 1-year-old whiskey, I wonder how many will get that remark. With a creature like BCP, one has to try to understand how someone with nothing to begin with can, with no small amount of effort, keep it that way for as long as possible and with no possibility of digging themselves out of it. Mostly because of how inept the participants are at doing the simplest of things to be the very thing they imagine that they are. Arrogance, entitlement, petulance, vanity, selfishness, ego, and the excessive use of consumables that put the priorities on the back burner are trademarks of the tragically lackluster lives of one as imp-like as Rev, aka BCP.
So, who's Caitlin from Exclusive?
Caitlin is a woman that took my name when COVID first started because she had to call me to get in there. Asshole. You asshole. Piece of shit.
Zach, how's Gavin? You gotta get him on you now instead of putting him on the floor. You're gonna kill the cat. Oh my god. Oh my god, Gavin.
Oh no. No, he didn't.
No,
No.
honey, Gavin's okay.
No. No.
Is Gavin okay? Honey, you need to get back on the highway.
I wanted to check on him. Is he, because you see
Can
him?
we go park somewhere so we're not, like, in the middle of traffic? Can you use your head and get off the side of the goddamn road and park somewhere smart?
Shut the fuck up. If he's okay, I can get back on, no problem. Get the cat on your lap, you idiot! If he's on that floor again, you are getting your ass beat. Do you hear me?
Jason William Egroff, stop this.
No, I won't. You're not a mother.
Whoa. Perfect. But there's an issue about my dick size. Baby carrot dick. I have a baby dick, okay?
Then why are you only using my clothes to wipe up your puke? I hope you wash those. I can go to hell. For what? For what? For you cleaning up your own puke like a big boy?
Do you know why I did this? It was for money for our family. Do you realize the pain I was in? No, you don't care either. You never care about how I feel. And that's true. It's okay though. I still love the people in my life. I love you, and I will deal with it.
I hope he washes my clothes. I really do hope he washes my clothes.
Well, I earned $10, and I probably had a heart attack from it. because my whole body went.
I don't think you'd be moving and smoking
But
cigarettes if you had a heart
I
attack.
didn't mess up, did I? Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. And can you clean up my clothes?
When I'm ready.
I did absolutely nothing to try to help you at all.
I didn't say that.
I
gave it. You
know what?
Yogurt.
F our relationship. You obviously don't fucking care about it ever.
Yeah, I agree. Walk out. Where are you going? It's like you can't move very far, Shanny.
Leave me alone.
Okay, fine. Yeah, go smoke more weed.
What brings me online? Well, I wouldn't bring myself online. So, we need money for food. I'm so sick of this shit. But yeah, we need money for food.
Hey guys, it's the #1 e-beggar on the internet, Revelation News. I want to be the best e-beggar possible.
I worked my ass off.
Doing what?
Trying to do as much as I can, and I sent Krista the $50 back by accident.
An accident?
I need G-Man. Okay, so can someone severely get me hold of G-Man?
G-Man was, for the longest time, an integral part of Shanny's life. As one of Shanny's biggest defenders, he was, at a point, a target. When you are Shanny, and you garner, attract so much negative attention, eventually you're going to require allies. That ally became G-Man, the avatar for her shield.
I need G-Man.
The problem with that was when the negative attention was laid at the feet of Shanny, and someone else was attempting to what can be also considered to be white knight for her, the attention, if anything, exacerbates. For G-Man, this became a rather interesting renaissance for him. His notoriety rose during the time of the atheist community, as well as Shanny's. Well, not notoriety for her, but she was there then. G-Man, though, featured a bit on the Drunken Peasants podcast as a butt of many jokes, and kind of went obscure for a while until brought back to the surface by Shanny, who many had speculated for a while was a partner of his. Sexually. Oh. The attention he got from Hater Nation and from Ghoul World, if any of them were existing at that point, was quite bad for him. But he would quite vehemently defend Shanny regardless of her crappy behavior. When people celebrated her yeeting off of YouTube, he was on Shanny's side. I believe he was also a financial backer of her.
I'm trying my best.
Oh, here we go.
While I'm financially supporting everything and working my ass off trying to do everything I
No
can.
money coming in. None.
I have to wait till the 21st.
Supporting what?
Yes, I've been getting money in here and putting it in the bills and paying them.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, really? Really? Because I think the people who give me money know that I'm paying the bills.
I think G-Man was paying your bills. Am I wrong here?
You may notice here, I've said was a few times. We'll get to that soon, don't worry. He helped Shanny and baby Carrot Peen many a time. The backing that she had received, courtesy of G-Man, made him a different kind of target as well, not just for white knighting, but for enabling her shitty behavior. A blind eye towards what she was doing, what you have seen evidence on, and repeatedly failing to do the right thing by her and simply say no, F off, distance yourself and live the better life that you, G-Man, deserve. But Shanny's not very good at being grateful. She's good at begging, and I mean in the sense of just begging. The results part is iffy, but begging for things, yeah, she can do that quite well. She's very good at it, and if she can't do it, as you've seen, BCP does it for her. That begging, though, did work on G-Man for a time, bailed them out on multiple occasions, stepped up and aided like a good hero. Inevitably, though, with many of those that are ensnared by the likes of Shanny, those frays, those good graces, eventually become eroded because, like anyone else, there is a limit to how much crap one person can take before a straw breaks that camel's back.
When you're dealing with two white rich people compared to one poor black man.
That camel can be considered a cash cow, a home, both if they're a person who's aided on multiple occasions and seen nothing for their efforts. No return, no change, no positivity, only the same tired, regurgitated crap time and time again. In this, there is a happy ending though, to an extent, because G-Man severed ties. G-Man walked away. G-Man is now celebrated, given the positive attention that he now deserves for for calling Shanny out for how crappy a person she really is.
Again, watch this to the very end, okay? I went on Skype, and this is what I told them on Skype. Of course, they didn't respond. They probably got me blocked. I don't know. But that's their own fault because they could have. But anyway, so let me show everybody this. After I watched all of that, I told them, let me make sure there's no personal info on here. I said this to them.
Okay, hold on. Shanny, let me see. It says call, no answer, redial. Shanny, apologize to me in video. You should have never made that video claiming I gave you a... And that part right there, I don't want to say it because I don't want my video to get...
Now, it can be said, not all can be truly forgiven. G-Man did lie about Shanny's use of illegal materials, and G-Man did defend other abuses.
A lot of you was told by David Anthony that ShannyForChrist and Revelation News did not buy any heater.
He really did, but he did also offer them a home, and they turned it down. They turned down an offer for that. It's quite impressive, really. All the hoops, loops, efforts made, even going so far as to defend everything they ever did that was wrong. And a gift horse was presented. They turned their nose up, snubbed too many times, and G-Man snapped. He blasted them so many times. He has appeared multiple times on Drag's channel. If you don't know who that is, I'll link it down below. And in doing so, his stock has risen. I hope this amply conveys one person, a key player in Shanny's life, and shows you she really doesn't care about any of her allies. Anyone that helps her, anyone that supports her, really. Because even somebody that was quite close to her...
I spent 100... He-Man gave me the best dick the other day. It was so good.
And made concerted efforts for her. She did nothing and did not repay, did not help herself or help them. So I guess we now need to go to where is she now? Where is Shanny and BCP?
My allegiance is to the Force and the Force only.
Okay, I like that. That's cool.
This is where Shanny's our own worst enemy because, and let me refer to as Shanny for Shanny needs love because my title, my video is titled properly for what I'm going to say in this video. Some of the things that I'm going to say in this video is pretty cold-blooded, so I'm just letting y'all know right off the back. Shanny needs love. Crap.
There's our warning, you guys.
That we seeing on YouTube has got to go. Like, it's got to go. But anyway, I have to be careful because I will say the wrong thing on here and regret it big time later from the Christian community if I'm not careful. So I'm listening to her, and then she starts going into how all of her problems are revolving from everybody attacking her on YouTube. And I used to have this mindset. She said she doesn't do anything to anybody. That's not true.
Yeah, it's not.
Life of a Free Spirit, the whole thing between them two is proof that she does things to people on YouTube. What she did to me when I received the house the first time is proof that she does things to other people.
A few moments later.
So you're actually paying for what you did in the past. And you haven't changed a bit.
To be honest, this part is fascinating. It's fascinating because, much like the dainty, the grotesque, and the exaggerated entries of old, Shanny has a cycle. Hers is one born out of consequence, one that exists as a permanent reminder of her every single failure. Failures that she has wrought upon her family, poor decisions coming back to bite her because she never grew up nor considered the future. Well, the future beyond the immediate gratification, which was a quite frankly shocking coping mechanism that ended up with her wasting what little she had and taking everything for granted. Shanny's cycle began the moment she was first removed from YouTube. This began a cycle of regeneration to e-beg.
Hey, what's up, Rev here? I just need a little something. $7. That's all I need to get some Tylenol.
To e-beg.
We need money for food. I'm so sick of this shit. But yeah, we need money for food.
And then to trump up some drama, to e-beg some more. When the cycle was nearing its inevitable end, she would cause enough of a stir to get removed from YouTube again. Within that cycle of e-begging for cigarette money, Tylenol money, rent money, money to pay off loans and money just to have money, Shanny would fight her dear darling imp, BCP. And then she'd use anyone within her gravity to simply put out the fires that they had created, turning the homes they lived in to resemble a pigsty that even pigs would reject as a suitable abode. Content that got lazier and lazier as time went by. using up what little good graces they had with limited numbers of allies and family, all of which dwindling as more time has gone by. With the children gone, Shanny would occasionally pine for them, although I'm not entirely sure why, as she not only took them for granted, but failed them. She never gave them the support they needed, the education they needed, the solid home foundation they needed, nor, and most importantly, the love that they needed. So with the children out of the picture and hopefully living a better life, Shanny was staying at a home owned by an uncle. Was is a rather handy word though, as it allows me to mention that they were, Shanny and her imp, requested to vacate the property. Why? Because of the cycle. They never look after the place they reside, and it invariably causes damage akin to that of a redneck setting off thermite in a fridge to warm up their beer. They either don't pay their bills on time because they're busy doing anything but get a job and make any real income because all excuses now go here, and because they believe, no idea how at this point, that what they do on YouTube is a job to them. Shanny's delusion at making it as a creator is proof of that. I do wonder how many times she can be yeeted before she and BCP finally call it and go into the real world and become actual people. The Losers Club, a recent attempt to be a YouTuber, is no more. To cope with this, BCP had announced that Shanny took this hard and attempted to take her own, well, life. X'd out here, no doubt it was done to drum up sympathy and donations. BCP himself no longer possesses a channel. They did have a TikTok, no longer about. Shanny's Twitter is barely in use. So there isn't much in the way of content coming from them. It should be noted that they have been relatively quiet on social media ever since the most recent YouTube ban, and while I would like to believe that this will be the last we'd ever hear from them, it is unlikely. Once one with no discernible talent gets hooked onto social media as an escape from their own failings as a human, they can never truly walk away. They want a swan song, a mic drop moment situation type of deal that gives them a victory that they have never tasted before. To conclude this video, I'd like to make a final statement. I doubt anything I say will sink into their brains, but I'd like to believe that by reviewing the content that they did produce, you can see just how low the grifts can be. There are some on YouTube that have perfected this into a sweet science, as it were, making multiple channels just to dump on one person, solely one person. It is a con, and they know it, as does any audience that enables it. In the case of Shanny, no one wanted to buy what she sold, even when content was put onto sites like OnlyFibro. She was so desperate to be something more that she forgot all the potential around her, like her children, and she refused to try and make what she had a better deal. She expected and demanded respect, and she expected and demanded support, two things that one must earn. The content Shanny produced was levels of lazy I would expect from someone now like French Fried Fraud or her Pinata Foodie Ludi. Shanny and her mini imp BCP are a perfect example of how desperation can in fact lead to further desperation. I mentioned earlier consequences, something to this day she does not understand. She may say that she does and has done before in fact, but in reality it is the fault of everyone else for not giving her everything in the world. Insert the sarcasm sign somewhere here if it is required for the one person who didn't get it. If anything can be learnt from the tale of Shanny, it is that you should always work hard to get anywhere, and if you produce a one-dimensional play in a three-dimensional world, you will be found wanting and you will end up losing it all. You can only go so far on playing 1D chess, and unless you are willing to be more, do more, work more, you will never go beyond your echo chamber and the hateful community that you breed. The same community that will turn on you, if it already hasn't, the moment they learn the truth about what, who, or why you are the way you are. Thank you. P.S. If we get enough views and likes, French Fried Fraud is next.